There's a little bit of gloom over Belle Isle, Detroit for Ozicar Tin Top Cup. Does that mean the drivers are going to need the slick tyres or the wet tyres on the Toyota GR86? Across tonight's racing, we're going to find out. Thanks for joining us on Simspeed TV. David Haynes here with Jason Fewens, Jay Kennedy in the production. And it's been great racing in this championship so far, Jason, but I'm looking at those American flags, Canadian flags, and checkered flags by the start-finish line. You definitely want to have your windbreaker on.
Yeah, definitely. Good evening, Dave. Good evening, everybody. It looks like another big field here tonight that have joined us for Detroit. A car and a track combination that is very well suited for one another. Like you said, the weather conditions could be up in the air at the moment. It could go either way, so we'll have to make sure the drivers are on point and they're got everything, all their ducks lined up, because they could get caught out with a wrong tyre choice. But we're halfway through the season, and I'm sure the drivers probably have a fair idea of what they need to do to get to the finish line tonight.
Always very important to have your waterfowl aligned linearly, and if you do,
so we can see here on the track map, there is 14 turns that make up this circuit. Quite a tight, twisty section around by the fountain, which always generates a heap of action. We've got a couple of heavy braking zones as well, particularly down into turn 3. Really good passing opportunity if you get a good run out of turns 1 and 2. Of course, tonight the concrete is going to be either your best friend or your worst enemy. So it's very critical that these drivers keep it within the boundaries, keep it within the confines of their ability, and hopefully we can see 31 starters and 31 finishers get to the checkered flag at the end of it all.
So I want to say key overtaking opportunity turn 3, but I think we're seeing you can pass anywhere, anyway, if you get a good run, if you've got a handle on the conditions, particularly if a little bit of rain blows through. It's one-way roads through the parklands here. Much to my annoyance, the one-way roads are actually in the opposite direction to the direction of the racetrack when I hired a bicycle and had a little bit of a pedal around here. Ben Faulkner, 207 points, leads the championship after 2 rounds from Ewan Baker, Jamie Stovall, Tom Freer, Hayden Kirk, and there's Brodie Shepherd, James Chastanow, Tim Harris, John Merritt, and Matthew Pluck is our top 10. Typical Aussie car style. It is so close. This is the format for tonight on Belle Isle. It's 2 races, 11 laps or 20 minutes. It will depend somewhat on the weather, what kind of lap times we get, and how those races end up. But qualifying is being sorted right now, and that sets the grid for race number 1, and then it flows through the finishing order of race 1 into race 2. Jason, that limits how much risk you have an appetite for in race number 1.
Yeah, we see a couple of drivers in previous rounds that have got caught out by incidences and potential damage, find themselves outside of that inverted grid for race number 2, and they've had a lot of work cut out for them to get themselves back into contention and a good points haul. But we have seen it done, so it's not completely impossible. And of course, tonight being a concrete jungle that it is, I'm sure it will throw some curveballs to some of these drivers over the course of the next 2 heats.
So Ewan Baker will start on pole from Ben Faulkner, Joshua Horton, Matthew Pluck, Jamie Stovall, and Sam Chapman as our first 3 rows. Then we have Dylan DeBono, Tim Harris, Luke Turner, Brodie Shepherd, Adrian Duke, and James Chastanow. Some real championship contenders inside of that top 12. They're followed by Douglas Gowans, Sean Doyle, Hayden Kirk, Nathan Burney, Steve Curtis, and Matthew Gerard. Then we have Warren Henry, Ben Wheeler, John Snell, Will Chen, Leon Williams, and Cameron Hardwick to 24th place. The GR86s continue with Callum Heinrich, Peter Wilkinson, Jordan Dakin, Vic Bent-Veltzen, Matthew Joy, and Ira Felberg 30th. Last driver with a qualifying time is Tom Brown, and every driver has a qualifying time. Visibility, definitely got to have your headlights on in these conditions.
Yeah, big field spread as well with the time set over qualifying. So a few drivers obviously getting caught out, setting a banker lap, potentially kissing the wall, getting themselves a 0x as well. So don't know whether lap traffic is going to play a part in this particular race. within the next 20 minutes, but I'm sure we'll find out soon enough. We're just still waiting for a couple of drivers to grid up before we get tonight's action underway. Still quite dark, gloomy and misty out there, so obviously keep an eye on the weather.
20 minutes on the clock, the engines are revving, they're ready to go on Belle Isle. A standing start for the Ozicar GR86s in the Tin Top Cup. A little bit of a bend just behind the start-finish line there, as well as 31 GR86s head down towards turns 1 and 2. All of them on the slick tyres right now, and it's sweeping through turn 2 on cold tyres before a big run down towards turn 3, where we've already got a side-by-side challenge for the lead, Faulkner and Baker. And around the outside is Faulkner with his nose in front, looking to sweep around into the race lead, but Ewan Baker will not concede as he holds the inside towards turn 4, still side by side, still Faulkner in front, and this time he comes across into the lead of the race.
Yeah, pretty incident-free the first start of the race, and I'll say that we see a little bit of action on the exit of turn number 3. There's someone in the wall. Before the lights went green, we did see Sam Chapman actually make a jump out of his box, so he will receive a black flag penalty. So look for him to dive into the pits in the next couple of laps. Another car's facing the wrong direction, just has to sit there and wait for the field to go through. Looks like it is car number 74, that's Sean Doyle. So while there's plenty happening back in the field, out in the front at the moment, we have Josh Horton, Douglas Gowlands leading this pack through the fountain section for the first time with a big tail of cars hot on the hills.
Still super side by side for the race lead here as Faulkner holds the inside. It's not great yacht weather to be out there on the seaway, but it's great racing weather as this leading pack. Inseparable third place Joshua Horton also showing a little bit of his nose. Basically the final 2 corners here, trying to sweep as much speed as you can. Oh, Baker into the wall, Horton across too much curbing. Great news for Ben Faulkner as 2nd and 3rd are now going to begin to battle each other. Buck and Stovall, the next group of cars behind that. First lap completed, and we have a dive down the inside of one. Horton leans on Baker a little bit, who I think is on the preferred line through turn number 2, over that little rise, over the creek on the exit of turn 2. A little bridge there before you then just head straight down towards the statue and the braking zone at turn 3. Pluck's getting involved here, and he's picking and choosing his winner as he gives a little bit of a bump draft to Ewan Baker. Once again on the inside line here, maybe going to lose out to a driver going around the outside.
Yeah, almost a repeat of what happened in race in lap number 1 there. It looks like Baker's finding himself on the outside for the next left-hand turn, and Pluck getting the job done there. But Ben Faulkner at the moment got over half a second lead on this little battle pack on screen at the moment as they trip over themselves. So healthy little margin there for Ben at the moment. Quick Auzicar.net replay. I presume this is going to be lap number 1 just to get an idea of how things unfolded, and we end up in that situation with a heap of damaged cars. Couple of locked-on cars in there.
One of those is Nathan Verney. And then elsewhere, there was just a tiny bit of contact there as Sean Doyle went around. Of course, it's a street circuit, so the racing is always going to be just a little bit frantic like that. The wall's super close, a little bit of leaning on each other as we carry on. Looking like we are heading to that full 11 laps by the looks of things. Still dry conditions, no rain on the radar when we checked earlier. So Ben Faulkner has a 2-second lead from Joshua Horton in second. There's Ewan Baker, Matthew Pluck, Sam Chapman looks like he's got Dylan DeBono pressuring him a little bit. No, Sam Chapman pits.
Yeah, I think Sam's just diving into the pits to see that black flag penalty from the pre-race start. Fastest lap of the race does go to Ben Faulkner on lap number 2 though, as he takes control of the field at 1:43.3. So pretty quick time so early on in the race.
Is pretty willing here, and Tim Harris, Brody Shepherd are also having a bit of a battle. DeBono has Stovall down his inside there, but again around the outside. It seems to be the touring car line at turn 3. In IndyCar or anything else, whoever's got the inside seems to have right of way, but around there just seems to be more grip off the line.
So James Chastanoff on screen at the moment, back in P9. Cameron Hardwick as well, back in P22 in a good little battle. So plenty of battle packs forming throughout the field quite early on in tonight's heat number 1. Chastanoff on screen, followed by Luke Turner in the Toyota 86. The Pulse Tuning livery there, one of the many different colour schemes we'll see across the course of tonight from that particular team.
Long way from Detroit to Echuca. The seaway between the Great Lakes a little different to the Murray River. Who's this around? It's Ben Wheeler, and that's the corner on the way into the infield section. So at the end of the back straight, Sean Doyle's now around there as well, just as we go to the replay. This is how it starts. Oh yeah, it's plenty of curb. That is a nasty little apex curb. And then Doyle comes around.
Yes, very difficult situation to be in there, as we see Doyle having a bit of a tank slapper and collecting another car in the process. So absolutely shocker for Sean tonight for race number 1.
Sean Doyle, pretty sure that's who it was. Back with these live pictures on lap 4, James Chastanoff looking to the inside here. Looking at, yeah, he was trying to stay off that apex curb, but he got a little bit too much of it, and we're seeing these GR86s are not massive fans of launching over the curbs around here. They don't land and settle well and grip up and let you get back on the power. But in the end, Tim Harris concedes. We're on board with Luke Turner inside of the top 10. Don't need to worry about any top 8, top 10 inversions of the grid here in this race format. 2 races tonight. We've got some Enduros coming up at 1 race in the night for Tin Top Cup later on in the season. We've also had the format with 3 15-minute races. So each round a slightly different format, and in these 2 races it's just 1 race into the next, putting some importance on qualifying and some importance on keeping it clean in race number 1.
Just for those following, we do have Matthew Joy in the pit serving a black flag at the moment. I did see Tom Brown and Ira Felberg both had meatball flags there for a moment as well, but they may have been into the pits and had them cleared and back out. So plenty of cars coming unstuck early on in race number 1. We're only on lap 4 of 11 here in heat number 1 this evening, and there is action aplenty right around the field as the cars are starting to space out a little bit. We've still got battle packs forming, but plenty of them across the course of the field as they complete another lap underneath the Barney waving the checkered flag. Ben Faulkner continuing his run with another fastest lap of the race, just extending his lead by another couple of tenths of a second.
Barney's been enjoying the Detroit hospitality, the Detroit style pizza, Detroit style other stuff. Hardwick, Williams, Heinrich is this battle right here. Looking backwards from Cameron Hardwick, he's got a bit of space in front of him, but he's got a lot of cars behind him, and that change of direction through 1 and 2, a lot of curb, too much speed into turn 1, not much speed off turn 2. And here he goes under pressure. He's got a bit of a freight train of locked on lads going one way, going the other. So around the outside of him, cleanly goes Leon Williams, who gets in a little bit deep, has a bit of a lock-up, and then here comes back Cameron Hardwick.
Plenty of side-by-side, door-to-door action. As you did mention a little earlier, these cars can lean on each other and suffer a little bit of bump and grind without too much incident. We have seen that across the course of tonight already. So people were driving with their elbows out, just trying to get a feel for those around them and make some dominance in the little battle packs. We go down into the fountain section again for the lap number 6. This is where we saw a couple of incidents come unstuck after drivers hitting the inside curb. So everyone making it through this particular time with no issue at this stage.
So this is for who starts on the front row of the grid for race number 2. Well, between Ewan Baker and Joshua Horton. A little quicker off that turn 2. Long run down towards turn 3. Statue just beyond the runoff there. Got a butterfly garden to the left, but it's the pavement, the walls, and the car in front that is most holding Ewan Baker's attention right now. Running up to those walls as close as possible, but without tagging them. And there's a few places like the exit here where the wall just seems to jut out towards you on the corner exit and really can sucker you into making a mistake. Alongside the river, down the back straight.
There is a draft opportunity here for Ewan Baker as well, as he's tucked underneath the rear wing there of the Vermilion Motorsport driver of Josh Horton. No opportunity there to get the move done at this stage. It's not really going to be a fuel-saving race either. So Ewan Baker, they're putting plenty of pressure on, having a look down the inside, just giving each other a little bit of room as they have a little bit of a rub on the back quarter panel, which is all fine. Everyone's still facing in the right direction. That's exactly what we want to see here tonight on Simspeed. Is good close racing across both heat races tonight.
And you'd love to see that if you're Matthew Pluck as well, because suddenly he's getting just a little bit closer to second and third place as they battle. Leader has started lap 6, giving us 5 more to go in this one. This is how close they got. About that close. Ewan Baker doing his best to not completely use up his opponent as he had an opportunistic dive to the inside of the right-hander out of the fountain section. Now towards turn 3, you see Horton defending. Baker will put his nose into that wedge closing up against the concrete wall. Try to get a good run off. All of this is amazing for race leader Ben Faulkner. Almost 5 seconds out in the clear as second and third heats up, begins to reach a bit of a boil. And Matthew Pluck joins as well, as Baker has just been making Horton defend.
Yeah, this was a 2-car battle. Now it is 3 with Pluck on the back of them. And if they keep going the way they are at the moment, it will be a 5-way battle for the 2 positions rounding out the podium in heat number 1. We jump on board with Matt Pluck, the Kiwi Sim Racing driver. He is doing his best to latch onto the back of these 2 in front. Just late on the brakes, riding that curb on the inside just a little bit to get the car rotated before the change of direction through here again around the back of the fountain, past all the virtual spectators in the grandstand. Very, very tight, twisty little part of the circuit here. Really,
you notice
really,
there's a couple of pickup trucks also enjoying the corporate hospitality there. From the aerial shots, you get a good look at it. Some of the car park and corporate hospitality seem to have blended together. There are Pixar Cars style trucks enjoying the hospitality.
Yeah, I don't think the drivers have a lot of time to be looking out their right-hand window through that part of the circuit. They are pretty busy making sure they hit those braking points and keeping off those curves to get the car turned in. But we're still on board with Pluck there, doing a pretty good job at the moment in P4, just waiting for an opportunity to present itself as he comes out of turn 2 to get a good run into that heavy braking zone down at turn 3.
Hardly a glimpse of Ben Faulkner as he's the class of the field in race number 1. 3rd, 4th, 5th begin to close back in again on Joshua Horton in 2nd, and the next battle group is Brody Shepherd ahead of James Chastanoff, Sim Harris and Luke Turner here. So there's certainly a bit of teamwork happening in a few places. Kiwi Sim Racing in the battle up the road, and also tuning Chuka Toyota, trying to make some gains here. And there's a handful of Vermilion cars out there. Sam Chapman has Matthew Gerard for company as they negotiate turns 3 and 4. A few little damaged, wounded cars, and how's the defense from Horton? He doesn't want to open up a single car width, but there's contact, a rub on the bumper as Baker goes to change lanes, looks around the outside, heading into the fountain section. He's all over Joshua Horton, but it is a street circuit, passing so difficult. The number one thing Ewan Baker's got going for him right now is his teammate Matthew Pluck behind probably won't throw the nose in if Baker gets offline, and Baker will dive down the inside of the hairpin once again, giving less space to Joshua Horton, feeding him into the concrete. Both of them carry on side by side over the bumps down the back straight. Double right-hander coming up, and Baker will make sure to leave no space for Horton there, who turns him. Massive crash out the final corner.
Looks like Pluck got involved in that as well as possibly the Bono. I think it might have been in the red and white livery as well. So everything's just starts to all happen here on lap 9 of 11. We are getting towards the pointy end of heat number 1. The Ozicar.net replay will go back halfway through that lap to get an idea of how it all started. Definitely getting the attention of Horton there into the braking zone around the back part of the circuit.
So there wasn't a car width to the inside. Baker went the other way. Baker then squeezes Horton a little bit there, gets up wide, and Horton throws the nose into the fast right-hander, and that feeds Baker around irrecoverably. And a few other cars, of course, have no action, no time to respond. and it is a very, very damaged car for Ewan Baker that is limping around at the moment.
Yeah, just highlights how quickly things can go pear-shaped around this circuit. I'm sure Ewan Baker will have a story to tell after this, but Horton definitely had a run on him going into that right-hand sweeper onto the straight to complete the lap, and the door just got closed on him. Whether he was entitled to that sticking the nose in there, that's up to the stewards to decide, but it certainly created a little bit of action for us to contend with here late in heat number 1.
I think it went a little tit for tat, didn't it? Horton had a big block, and Baker thought, all right, well, I'll change lanes across here, but there was just a tiny bit of bumper-to-bumper contact that got Horton loose there. So then Horton goes, all right, well, I'll defend like this. Baker goes, all right, well, I'll attack like this. And, of course, all of that damage for Ewan Baker, making it impossible to work around until eventually, it went from one punch, harder punch the other way, harder punch the other way, and it ended the way it did.
Yeah,
and
we'll see
Baker with the big damage to the right rear suspension.
Yeah, we see Ewan Baker, Matt Joy both at the moment with meatball flags against their names. So Baker suffering quite a bit of damage as a result of any actions on lap 9 and 10. So we are on lap 10 at the moment for the leaders, Brody Shepherd in P5. So it wasn't that long ago he was looking a little bit further back in the field, and he's been elevated up into the top half of the top 10. So managed to keep his nose relatively clean, albeit he's done plenty of pressure from another one of those, I think it's another one of those Pulse Toyota Toyotas up the road. This is Luke Turner looking out the back towards James Chastanoff.
All of a sudden it's for a couple more biscuits as well than it was earlier on. There we go. Ewan Baker has some repairs and he's back into this, and we'll have a really, really big race 2 ahead of him for one of the drivers inside of the top 10 in the championship. He finds himself with a lot of work to do and in a really, really tough position. Here's Pluck, who also lost some time and some positions at that time, in 10th, in behind Douglas Gowans. He went into the wall as well, but doesn't seem to have quite as much damage.
Yeah, sort of collateral damage after all that kerfuffle and everything, once the smoke cleared and everything unfolded. So Matt Pluck there, unfortunately, wrong place at the wrong time, but he does find himself in a good little battle with Douglas Gowans at the moment, the Velocity Sim Labor driver in the distinctive green and white livery on screen at the moment as they go under the starters podium to get the white flag. Final lap, final circulation to complete heat number 1 here tonight.
There's Horton in 2nd, bit of time to Stovall in 3rd, to Bono in 4th. Shepherd and Harris and Luke Turner lining up. His Pluck having a look at turn 3, not close enough, but just trying to get Douglas Gowans offline. Adrian Duke has gained a couple of positions in this race. And then Chapman back in 12th, Gerard in 13th, Will Chen and Warren Henry. And for 20th, Sean Doyle and Benjamin Wheeler.
Yeah, if you look down the race order at the moment, plenty of little battle packs separated by a couple of tenths of a second. So a foot wrong and a driver can find themselves a couple of positions back down the race order very late here in race number 1. We are round 3 of 6 of the Ozicar Tin Top Cup Season 2 for 2024 as we look towards the leader.
Final lap, Ben Faulkner out the final corner from pole position, imperious in race 1 at Belle Isle, unstoppable, and he takes the victory that will put him on pole for race number 2 as well, while 2nd and 3rd collided, 5 seconds in his mirrors. No problems for him as he skates serenely to the victory. He'll be joined on this podium by Joshua Horton and Jamie Stovall. And the rest of the top 10 come to the checkered flag. A few other little battles too sort out in the closing stage as well.
Looks like Sean Doyle has things under control back just in P20 at the moment. A couple of tenths clear of Ben Wheeler back in 21. So we did see Sean have a bit of a spin, had to wait for the entire field to go through before he could get underway early in the race lap number 1. So a bit of a recovery drive. Good to see him still on the lead lap, although his pacing qualifying showed he should have been a lot further up the field.
And a few cars left to take the checkered flag, and by all accounts, 25 or 26 cars on the lead lap. Hayden Kirk will be one of the last to come around. He's getting a bit of a curbing. A few bits of exposed grass between the concrete parklands at Belle. Of course is French for very nice island. And it's quite nice, that much must be said. Some of it by nature, some of it man-made, like the fountain, the gardens, and the racetrack. This is the results from race 1. Ben Faulkner from Joshua Horton, Jamie Stovall, Dylan Tabono, Brody Shepherd, Tim Harris, Luke Turner, James Chastanoff, Douglas Gowans, and Matt Clark as the top 10. Chastanoff going from 12th on the grid to 8th, one of the biggest movers inside of that. Shepherd from 10th to 5th. Adrian Duke, Sam Chapman, Matthew Gerard, Will Chen, Warren Henry, John Snell, Cameron Hardwick, Leon Williams, Callum Heinrich, and Sean Doyle to 20th place. A few big names back here. Ben Wheeler 21st, Ewan Baker eventually finishing in 22nd, Peter Wilkinson, Jordan Dakin, Nathan Burney, and Hayden Kirk to 26th place, Ira Fellberg and Steve Cortis 1 lap down, Vic Ben Phelps 2 laps down, Tom Brown is 6 laps down, and so too was Matthew Joy, the 31st place car. There's one more race to come in Ozicar Tin Top Cup from Detroit. Stay with us on Simspeed TV. That's coming up the other side of the break. An Aussie car brought to you by Prestige Trophy Badge and Engraving. Locked On Lads, Sim Racing Leagues, and in support of the No Social Hate campaign. One more race to come in Ozicar Tin Top Cup tonight.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series in officially licensed cars engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
One more race for Ozicar Tin Top Cup from Detroit Belle Isle. Ben Faulkner has appeared unstoppable so far, taking pole, taking the fastest lap, taking the race win in race number 1. Certainly a circuit where the drivers can race close, but passing can be tough. Anything's possible in the Toyota GR86s. They have been so exciting. Still not seeing any hint of weather on the radar or any rain, though it is quite a gloomy and breezy day.
Race number 2 tonight. Heat number 2 is a replica of heat number 1, 20 minutes or 11 laps, which we managed to get in the last race. Of course, the grid standings are progressive, so where you finished in race number 1 is where you will start in race number 2, Dave.
Yep, this is a copy-paste to the finishing order of race number 1. So Ben Faulkner and Joshua Horton on the front row for the standing start, and Jamie Stovall, Dylan DeBono, Brodie Shepherd, Tim Harris is that top 6. Luke Turner, James Chastanoff, Douglas Gowans and Matt Pluck are the top 10. Again, the rest of the grid just pure finishing order from race number 1, and that's great news for Ben Faulkner, as once again he'll have the clean run through turns 1, 2 and the long run down towards turn 3, where the leaders got through cleanly on the first time in race 1, but back in the pack there was a little more contact, and the concrete is oh so close everywhere you go around here, and so's Canada oh so close just across the river. We're ready to go. The flat engine's revving, the green flag waving, a little bit of tyre smoke as they get off the standing start, and Dylan DeBono's done it really well from third as he's gone from 4th up into 3rd ahead of Jamie Stovall. They're battling side by side that position behind. Ben Faulkner also off to a pretty good start. Ewan Baker, one of the drivers to watch, of course, trying to come through the field here in race number 2. He's gotten wide out of turn 2, and now he's a little out of position, but Faulkner is not.
You're down into turn number 3. Looks like most of them are single file back to about P10. You see a couple of drivers there just trying to make it too wide. One of the locked-on cars might be Chastanoff there, and almost a duplication of what happened in race number 1, with some couple of cars off the racing line on the exit of turn 3 facing the wrong direction, so they'll manage to get going again, but it won't be a safety car. There's nothing there out blocking the track at the moment.
John Snell and Warren Henry, those 2 cars around, but without too much damage, they'll get going again. Down the back straight, Horton is closing in on the race leader, but so is Dylan DeBono, who had a pretty good race number 1, had a very good start here in race number 2. He is looking forward and aggressive. He's already dispatched with Jamie Stovall, who sits 4th.
So we know we've got some quick drivers up the front, that's why they're there, but race number 1 we did see the race leader manage to make a bit of a break as we find a car sitting in the most precarious spot there. Leon Williams just holding his breath, waiting for the entire field to sneak around. Just not a position you want to find yourself in.
So we're going to look to that turn 3 incident. Oh, just spinning out there and then collecting one car was Warren Henry as he caught caught John Snell. Leon Williams went around later on. We've got 1 lap completed. Faulkner still leading. He's almost out to 8 tenths here. The action is behind him as they run up to peak speed of about 190 kilometers an hour at the end of the straight.
Just one thing we did see in the replay was Ewan Baker just getting a little bit of damage on the front end, having nowhere to go as he come around turn 3 and found a heap of cars sitting in the middle of the circuit, so hopefully that doesn't hinder his surge forward through the field. This is car number 55 on screen, Vermilion Motorsport driver, buried a little bit back further in the pack, Brodie Shepherd.
Bit of air time through turn 2 for Ewan Baker. There is just a nasty little crest there. Ask any GM employee in a Corvette. And there is this bridge over a little creek, and it's just a slight little rise that makes turn 2 extra challenging, and of course you run off turn 2, super critical into the very high-speed run down towards turn number 3 here, where there's been a bit of action. The tyres have been given a little more than a kiss. Oh. Yeah, and it's broken the suspension, and that's it for...
Might have been Leon Williams, huh?
Yeah, Jordan Dayton indeed it is. Ben Faulkner's out to more than a 1 second lead, but the action behind him is where it's happening. Joshua Horton, Dylan DeBono and Jamie Stovald, and a few other little battle groups like Matthew Plucks, Turner and Sam Chapman just in behind him. DeBono feels the need to defend from Stovald. Bit of lap traffic for them here as well is John Snell. Didn't mean that to rhyme, because I said one before I saw the
You're a lyrical poet, just comes naturally. See a little bit of concrete dust there as another driver kisses the wall on the exit of turn number 4. 15 and 16 back in the field. You see Sean Dorr having a bit of a battle, so is Ewan Baker. He's got his hands full trying to get around at Matthew Gerard as he has a look down the inside. The Velocity Sim driver doing a pretty good job defensively there to hold off Baker, but Baker looking very, very racy to try and get a run down the back straight. It isn't straight.
Baker getting side by side. A bit of traffic on the road they're going to need to be careful of. Infield section here, Baker holds the inside and runs it out a bit wide, maybe a bit of a tap on the concrete. A few drivers doing that, using the walls to help them out just a little bit. Baker gets through. Now Gerard's own teammate Cameron Hardwick is gonna put a bit of pressure on him. That car getting out of the way. John Snell doing his best, but that's around, and a big hit into the wall for Matthew Gerard.
Yeah, you can see Gerard really pushing the little Toyota to its capabilities and then some, just trying to stay on the back of Ewan Baker, but this is back towards the front of the field. Tim Harris, Brady Shepherd for P5, P6. Only 0.2 of a second separating them as they cross the line here on lap number 4 of 11 in our feature race heat number 2 tonight. Coming back down the straight over that little bridge you were speaking about before with trying to get the draft. Tim Harris there before the braking zone, but not close enough to get any real pressure applied to Brady Shepherd at this stage.
Here's Hardwick and Doyle. Will Chen just in behind. And Hardwick gets ahead, has a bobble, pushes Sean Doyle off the road that he might not be entirely pleased with. And then lets Will Chen get a little bit closer. Faulkner had a little bit of a problem. His lead's evaporating. And relatively quickly, here comes Horton, here comes DeBono, here comes Stovald. Faulkner had a couple of seconds of lead. Now it's down to half a second as he loses quite a bit of it down the back straight, but doesn't seem to have any problems negotiating the corners of the fountain section.
Yeah, back through the field we've seen, I think it was Peter Wilkinson and Steve Cordis both in the pits at this stage of the race quite early on, getting some meatball flags repaired, so they've used their fast repair to continue on.
Grazed the concrete on the way in, ran a little bit wide, had just a graze on the wall on the way out, so that's where the time went, through the corner and then down the following straight for Ben Faulkner, and it was just the tiny touch on the wall on the way in that I think set all of that in motion.
Faulkner using every single bit of tarmac available to him, going right out to the extremities. Like I said, kissing a concrete wall here and there, ensuring keeping those fastest laps in check at the moment. Probably pushing, might be pushing a little bit harder than he needs to. Does have a little bit of a gap to the cars behind at the moment. It is 0.8 of a second. This looks like a position off the racing line for Peter Wilkinson, who's just come out of the pits. So missing a braking zone at turn 3.
He's gone on long there. Tidy of that time from Ben Faulkner onto the back straight, but still with Joshua Horton, DeBono, Stovall behind, and then the gap to Shepherd in 5th, Harris in 6th. James Chassenove seems to have caught them a little bit on the last lap as well, so he's bringing Matt Pluck and Luke Turner and Sam Chapman along, and it's only a couple seconds behind that to Douglas Gowans and Ewan Baker, who's worked his way from 22nd on the grid to 12th so far in race number 2.
Yes, we are on lap number 5, and he's made a handful of positions, nearly 2 handfuls of positions actually. So, but as he knows, the higher up the field you get, the harder those positions will be to gain. But at this stage, doing a pretty good job in a short amount of time to ensure minimising any points damage out of round number 3.
Fastest lap of the race going the way of Joshua Horton on the lap just completed. Certainly interesting to see. Track a little bit warm for how cool the air is and how overcast we are. Horton has saved anything and gotten close enough to that slipstream that can help him down towards turn 3, help him on the back straight. They call it the Strand. We're going to have a look at Douglas Gowans into turns 1 and 2, and he's wide in 1 and around in 2 and blocking the pit exit.
Yeah, very easy to get the car unsettled there. Did a pretty good job to pull it up. Very, very minor contact with the concrete and managed to keep going without too much drama. But Faulkner and Horton, that gap we spoke about a moment ago, 8 tenths, is now down to less than half a second. So Horton putting in that fastest lap of the race. You can see there just the last couple of laps he's gained half a tenth and 2.5 tenths respectively. So finding his groove here at the halfway point of heat number 2.
About a street circuit like this is once you get close, you can hardly see a thing up against the concrete staring at the back of the car in front. You lose a lot of the reference points that you would have on a more open race track because you're just in a tunnel and in behind the car in front. It's a bit of a whack on the concrete. As long as it's a square whack on the concrete, I think Tim Harris can get away with it. With James Chastanoff and Matt Pluck still in pursuit of him inside of the top 10. That was all spots inside of the top 10 where Faulkner has struck back at the race lead with a new fastest lap of the race. Adrian Duke is pitting, so maybe he picked up a little more damage or a penalty of some other kind.
Good little train forming in front of us on screen at the moment. 4, 5, 6 cars there potentially well within each other's draft. Matthew Pluck will jump on board with him overlooking the Kiwi Sim Racing Bonnet Toyota 86. He is latched onto the back of the Locked On Lads driver of James Chastanoff, bouncing around through turn number 7, I think it is, there onto the back straight, getting a pretty good run. Almost 180 kilometres an hour before they dive onto the brakes to go into that fountain section. 181 he hit in the draft as they make their way underneath the Auto Trader bridge before a sequence of double left-hand corners.
It's the flowing left-handers here that then lead into the tight right-hander. You see a couple of drivers sometimes trying to put a surprise lunge down the inside. It always works, sometimes does. You'll struggle to pass anyone through the remaining corners of the lap. Probably already thinking about turn 1 and turn 3 at this point. So there goes Shepherd in 5th, followed quickly by Harris, Chastanoff, Pluck, Turner and Chapman. The next car on track behind them, Ewan Baker, is up to 11th. They'll be praying that they begin to fight behind that. Hayden Kirk not enjoying Detroit as much as some others. Seems to get away without too much damage there. Pluck's best place to try to make a pass here.
So you can see the cars diving around under brakes. Matthew Pluck looking for an inside line on Chastanoff, who carries that mid-corner speed and retains that position, but he definitely knows the Kiwi Sim Racing driver is in his mirrors. And if he lets one car through, there's a potential for 2 or 3 cars to take advantage as well. So lots to lose if you to find yourself putting your foot wrong here with, what, 3.5 laps to go?
And having the look there for Pluck that didn't work, almost put him on the back foot. Or trying to stay right and then square it up for the braking zone. Used to be a more open corner here, but they tightened it up a little bit. There's some great IndyCar onboards from years gone by around here, because they came here for a great many years. So Alex Zanardi winning in the 90s here, and all sorts of exciting history. And that's around again for Hayden Kirk. So maybe he did sustain some suspension damage to the rear of the car that's making it a big challenging handful. 3 laps to go for the race leader Ben Faulkner as he crosses the start-finish line with Horton in pursuit. They've been able to drop Dylan DeBono and Jamie Stovald as the race has gone on, but there's still some time from them to that 5th place battle. So exciting with Brody Shepherd.
So Ben Faulkner through the haze that is almost sea-mist into turn number 3, half a second gap back to Josh Horton there as he makes up a little bit of ground under brakes into turn 3. But this is where most of the action is, just outside, just inside the top 10, I should say. Luke Turner, Sam Chapman looking for an opportunity there, riding the curb, not the quick way to get round the corner, but the Vermilion Motorsport driver making the move stick on the outside of turn 3.
As famous Detroit residents once said, round the outside, round the outside. Good move, and we've seen it work a couple of times. That curbing, just these GR86s with their road car roots just aren't tuned to fly over the curbs and land as well as some other race cars can. So going around the outside seems to be effective because you stay off the violent curb that always hinders your drive off the corner. So here we see it, just very brave on the brakes around the outside, staying on the flat pavement while the driver on the inside loses grip, loses traction, loses time on the inside curbing. And it sneaks Ewan Baker into the picture as well. Still time for him to make up just a few positions if he can. And it's closed up again up front as well. I still haven't seen Horton quite close enough to force Ben Faulkner to defend and really ignite this.
Ben Faulkner doing a pretty good job out at the moment. He does have control of the race. On saying that, Horton puts in a fastest lap late here on with 2 laps to go. So now's the opportunity where he is going to apply a little bit of pressure, tighten those thumb screws, and see if we can get Ben Faulkner to actually blink and make a mistake. He's been pretty event-free to Bono. They're getting all sorts of sideways through turn 3s. Extra points for style.
Yeah, he's giving it all right now. Horton's trying to take these late apexes. Matt Pluck, he's gone around. Did he get a little bit of help? Ewan Baker sneaks through. He was battling position with Sam Chapman and Luke Turner as well. So Pluck's lost a couple of positions late on, and this battling has brought a very aggressive, fired up Ewan Baker into the fight. Here we go. Big dive down the inside, gets that curb. Car lands while he's on the throttle with the steering still in, and he just loops it around himself. That curb at the apex of turn 3 is not friends with these Toyota GR86s.
No, Matt Pluck doing a pretty good job there to get the thing rotated back in the facing in the right direction there, not hindering anyone else being off the racing line in the process. So we're losing a little bit of time, couple of points, but as we've seen earlier in the race, could have been a lot more devastating towards his result tonight if he had to quit that inside wall.
Here's Baker getting into the fight now inside of the top 10, trying to size up Sam Chapman, and he doesn't have many more laps, many more opportunities to gain any more spots. Your leaders have started the final lap of the race. Barney's waving the white flag at the start-finish line. And here comes Baker. Here come the leaders down towards turn number 3 as well. Horton still just a tantalising half a second away from the race lead.
Yeah, that's about as close as he seems to be able to get, and then Faulkner might just stretch those legs a little bit and pull a bit more of a gap. We are in the last lap though, so now's the time to shine if you're Josh Horton. If you're really serious about getting this win, you've got to pull something out of the bag in the last half of the lap.
Baker not close enough to strike at turn 3. He's going to need to gain time through the tight corners around here and then try to strike later on in the race if possible. Now 7/10 back as they head onto the strand. Lake on one side, river on the other, Canada and a bunch of ships out there as well. For Ben Faulkner, he's basically led every lap of Belle Isle tonight, and he's just got to complete one more for the double victory. Baker really close down the strand, heading towards the fountain section. He makes a swap to the inside. He's going to try to throw it in so deep here. But again, the curbs are a challenge, and he's going to get squeezed out, and he's going to get spun into the concrete. They're both backwards in the fountain section.
And Baker just with a head of steam driving into his teammate. So there'll be conversations happening after the race there. Unfortunately, Baker just sort of squeezing the driver on the outside, leaving very, very little room as the action up the front comes to a conclusion as we have a race winner in Ben Faulkner.
Faulkner does the double. Put your hands up for Detroit. Horton following him in closely, and then DeBono and Stovall a little bit further back. Brody Shepherd's come across the line in 5th. And then Will Chen's in 15th with Nathan Verney behind him in 16th at the moment. Chen might have a little bit of damage. Verney is all over him and all in the wall.
Oh, very hard hit there. You can see just how hard Verney was pushing to try and get that position done.
Chen, after sustaining that pressure, is not a soft tofu, definitely more of a firm tofu. Peter Wilkinson and Jordan Dakin, some of the last cars to come around with the checkered flag. A pretty bruising track overall. That's typical of a street circuit. Big tall curbs, concrete walls close. It's narrow. Passing always involves some level of risk.
Yeah, there's plenty of tales of woe here at Detroit, both in real life and in the virtual world. But tonight, Ben Faulkner putting on a masterclass there. Like you said, leading every single lap we put on tonight here on Simspeed TV. Josh Horton putting a really, really good challenge in race number 2 tonight to come across the line just over half a second behind our race leader. So he shouldn't be too disappointed in that. But yeah, you can see these two drivers celebrating their points after what has been quite an eventful night.
There's the victory lane winner's circle in the infields of Detroit Belle Isle, and twice on the top step, Ben Faulkner in race number 2. He leads home Joshua Horton, Dylan DeBono, and Jamie Stovall. And the top 10 completed by Brody Shepherd, Tim Harris, James Chastanoff, Luke Turner, Matt Pluck there in 9th, and Ewan Baker in the 10th position. Just outside of that top 10, another big mover in race number 2. Sean Doyle from 20th on the grid, having a tidy race to go 11th. And then Sam Chapman, Cameron Hardwick, Douglas Gowans, Will Chen, Nathan Verney also gaining 9 spots to 16th. And Ben Wheeler, Adrian Duke, Callum Heinrich, and Warren Henry completing the top 20. A couple more cars left on the lead lap. Ira Felberg, Matthew Gerard, Matthew Joy, Hayden Kirk, and Leon Williams. Lap down, John Snell, Peter Wilkinson, and Jordan Dakin. 5 laps down, Tom Brown and Steve Cortis. And then Vic Bentfeldsen didn't take the grid or complete any laps in race number 2.
Well, at the start of the night, we promised plenty of action, and that's exactly what the drivers tonight here delivered. It was our job and our privilege to bring it to you here on Simspeed TV and call it, but there'll be plenty to talk about tonight after a debrief from a heap of drivers. But speaking of drivers, we do have a handful of them waiting in the comms box, waiting to have a bit of a chat. So, Dave, I'll let you pick the first one come through tonight. There's a couple of drivers in there to choose from.
Certainly is. 4th in race number 1, 3rd in race number 2. Dylan DeBono joins us. How was Detroit Belle Isle?
Yeah, man. It was an interesting one. Just such close racing everywhere. One mistake and your race is over. But good racing all around. I thought
couple teammates out there. What can teammates do for you in sprint racing like this?
Yeah, of course. Having teammates up the front is always a benefit. You know, you can set passes up with people using your teammates and that sort of stuff. I think the boys just had a bit of an unlucky night tonight. Just struggled a little bit with the street circuit, but yeah, that's all right. We move on, and yeah.
Have you got a number one most challenging, most feared corner for Belle? What was giving you headaches in 2 races?
Definitely turn 3. I think it is going into the hairpin. The first 4 laps, I was just hitting the curb wrong and just lost a little bit of pace off Ben and Josh, and just struggled to gain it back. Gain it back from there. My times are pretty similar. Just consistency wasn't there tonight.
Well, congrats. Good to see you twice inside of the top 4, scoring some decent points here at Belle.
Yeah, it's good points haul tonight. Pretty risky track this one. It could have been 4 races, but yeah, it came out pretty lucky, I thought.
Thank you. And also a 3rd and a 4th, swapping back and forth in the opposite order. Jamie Stovald's going to be with Jason Fewens.
Thanks, Dave. I've been for a bit of a walk, got the microphone with me, and I have found Jamie Stovall celebrating in his pit garage tonight. We have a strong result, 3rd in heat number 1, followed by a good result in P4, race number 2 tonight. So a good points haul for the championship here for the Ozicar Tin Top Cup, mate.
Yeah, exactly. I was just trying to sort of take it easy. I didn't really have the pace this week, and saw everything was sort of brewing in the first race. Managed to escape that without too much damage, and then the second race sort of tried my luck a bit, and then realised I still had no pace, and then sort of just sat in 4th. Tyres dropped off a bit, but played it safe. Knew that I was going to hopefully come home with, as you said, a good points haul.
Well, Detroit Belle is certainly one of those tracks where you have to drive within your limits, because if you find yourself pushing a little bit hard, you can concrete walls can sneak up on you pretty quick and be almost a race-ending incident. So tonight you managed to keep your nose pretty clean. The Synergy Sim Racing Toyota 86, not too much panel damage at the end of the night.
Yeah, just a little hit against the wall in the first race, and then lots of Code Brown moments in the second. Trying to take it easy in the second race. Almost didn't go to plan. Pretty happy with getting 0 incident points in the last race. It's a nice little bonus point, but very hard to do at a track like this.
Yeah, well, you found yourself 5 seconds off the lead, but there was quite a gap behind to P number 5, so you weren't under any real pressure. It was just a matter of circulating, hitting your marks, and making sure you drove within those limits of the track. Obviously, like I said, picking up those bonus points. We are at the halfway point of season number 2 here in 2024, so even at this point of the championship, picking up those little bonus points across the course of the rounds can all pay dividend at the all-important end of round number 6.
Absolutely, yeah, just sort of trying to look at the bigger picture in every race towards the whole kind of yearly championship, but also the 6-week ones. Just sort of try to play it smart when I'm was fast.
Well, that's it. Obviously tonight you had good pace on you. It wasn't quite enough to match Ben Faulkner out the front. He had a pretty stellar event, but like I said, as far as the big picture goes, doing what you needed to do, bank a certain amount of points, and minimising any losses over the course of the round. So congratulations on another good result. Good to have you here in the commentary box. This is becoming a bit of a fortnightly little date night for this Dave and I up here having a chat with you. So fingers crossed, if everything plays as it should in your world, we might be talking to you again in 2 weeks' time.
Yeah, you seem to keep finding me in the pit lane. It's trying to play a bit of hide and seek, but seem to be winning. Yeah, cheers, guys.
All right, Jamie there, Jamie Stovall, P3 in heat race number 1 and heat number 2 tonight, taking out P4. So again, a good points haul for him to round out round number 3.
Jason, if we have a date night, you're paying, I think. We'll go to second place in both races, race number 1 and race number 2. It's where Joshua Orton finished and joins us now. You're well familiar with Ben's back bumper by the end of that one.
Oh, mate, I was sniffing it. It is amazing to look at, gotta tell you.
Always going to be a tough track to make passes here on the street circuit. Average speed a little bit lower, there's less slipstream as well, and obviously very big punishment for any mistake.
Yeah, it's pretty tricky to get overtakes done. There's lots of opportunities, but to make them stick, you got to be pretty complacent with how you drive the car. You got to get pretty close to the walls, pretty comfortable. There's a few times where you get a bit of netcode and you get a bit scared, or you might just get a 0x just scraping the wall, but it's all in the name of the game.
And our first completely dry round of the season, certainly it looked like weather up in the sky. None of it made it to the track surface. Is that a positive for you guys?
Look, it's not something I'm against. Obviously, I prefer to drive in the dry like everybody else. Sort of a bit more comfortable. I've been doing it a lot more, but definitely did some wet practice for this round, both driving on slick to damp conditions and damp conditions on wet. Like learning where the crossover point is, and if it ever came to that point, that we'd be prepared to do it.
Certainly a great showing for the team as well. It looks like a championship where there's a lot of sort of team players going on, like Vermilion, Synergy, you've got Locked On Lads, Pulse, Tuning Chuka Toyota. Everyone seems to have some teammates and people to bounce some ideas off. What's the strength with that?
Look, mostly for any of your big circuits, usually it's just in the toe, making sure that you can stick with your teammate and try and pull each other through the field. For a street circuit like we did today, it's more traffic management. Obviously, there's everybody everywhere, so you want to do your best to try and create opportunities for your teammates without obviously hurting other people. So just maybe holding it on the inside for one corner, defending so your teammate can get a run down a straight. But yeah, it's a bit hit and miss sometimes. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. You just got to pick your choices wisely.
Well, congratulations. Really consistent points for you at Belle Isle.
Sweet, thank you very much.
Jason, there's one person left. It's the King of Detroit.
Yeah, man of the moment, Vermilion Motorsport Party continues as we chat with Ben Faulkner tonight. Qualifying P2, and from the moment the lights went green, he unleashed the fury on the streets of Detroit. Race 1 winner, race number 2 winner. Very, very hard to pick anything you did wrong tonight, Ben. Congratulations on a very, very strong round number 3.
Yeah, thank you. I've always liked Belle Isle, so I was keen to get going here. Qualifying was a bit of a one to forget for me. I did a good first lap and then completely stopped the next two. So yeah, I just knew I had to go jump. The P2 position's usually a lot better here off start. So yeah, got the run on Ewan and managed to get past him. And then yeah, he got a bad run. Josh got alongside him, gave him a bit of tow, and then yeah, managed to pull away out the tow and went from there.
Well, I think by the end of lap number 1, race number 1, you had almost a second gap on the field, and from there it was just a matter of eyes forward because you weren't really under any real pressure. I think the gap got out to 5 or 6 seconds there by the drop of the checkered flag. So dominant performance there while the rest of the field tripped over themselves to a little bit of an extent, but doing tonight exactly what you needed to do to greet Barney and the checkered flag on both occasions tonight. So a good points haul there at the halfway point of the season.
Yeah, it was awesome. Yeah, race 1 was pretty chill. Not too much happened there. It was just consistently doing laps. Yeah, race 2 was a bit closer. Didn't manage to get out the tow, so a bit close between me and Josh. But yeah, other than that, it was pretty clean. Good points haul, and good points haul for Brody as well, who's for the team championship with me.
So did you have a lot of practice going into tonight? Was weather a concern, that something you had on your mind, or was it just a matter of play the cards as they are dealt on race night?
We did like an hour or half an hour just before, just to help the other boys get ready for it. I did some, not too much, and then just a bit in practice for the session to get used to the different track conditions. Rain didn't seem to be coming, so it was a bit clear from there. It was going to be a bit interesting if it was going to rain, but I reckon it would have been a bit of fun. But yeah, other than that, it was pretty chill. Just jumped in, had some fun, and hope for the best.
Well, I'm sure you'll go back and watch a replay of tonight's race on Simspeed TV. You will see there was plenty of carnage throughout the field on both races 1 and 2. So you can only just imagine what kind of curveball some wet weather racing would have thrown at everybody tonight. And no doubt the results could have been completely different. But like you said, playing the cards that are dealt, making a master performance tonight, taking maximum points away as far as heat wins go. So looking forward to round number 4 and continuing that success.
Yeah, it was. I heard some of the other boys in the boys channel a couple of times say there was a few incidents at the back, so I'm keen to watch it back and enjoy it for the rest of the night. But yeah, and Silverstone's I think next, which will be good. I like any British track, so yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, Silverstone's another circuit that's going to be very well suited. You'll probably be able to ride the curves a little bit more there than you were able to here tonight. But fingers crossed, if everything goes according to plan, Ben, we'll be talking to you again in a couple of weeks' time. But we'll have to see whether or not you can pull some more magic out of the bag and continue that run of success you have at the moment.
Yeah, 100%.
All right, race 1 and race 2 winner there tonight. Big congratulations to Ben Faulkner, driver of car number 28 in the Toyota 86. So a really, really good result there. You can see him on screen, and hopefully again in 2 weeks' time, for as far as Ben's concerned, Silverstone circuit, round number 4, as we enter the second half of the Ozicar Tin Top Cup for season 2.
I feel like you can always count on a chance of rain in the UK any time of year, so we'll see what the weather brings us in 2 weeks' time when Ozicar Tin Top Cup goes to Silverstone Circuit, and you'll see it here on Simspeed TV. David Haynes with Jason Fewens, Jay Kennedy doing the production double. Race winner Ben Faulkner will be leaving Belle Isle with a smile on his face. Thanks, of course, go to Ozicar's partners, Sim Racing League's Locked On Lads Prestige Trophy Badge and Engraving, and in support of the No Social Hate campaign. We'll see you in 2 weeks' time at Silverstone on Simspeed TV.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head to head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.